Hello everyone, my name is Preston Dennett, and today I'd like to talk to you about a first-hand case of UFO contact, an onboard UFO encounter involving two brothers from the Netherlands. I call this case Andy's abduction. I think it's important for a couple of reasons. One is that the main witness recalled this fully consciously, without the use of regressive hypnosis. It's also a multiple witness case. It's also important, I think, because it's really a typical case, the kind I hear quite a bit. I think it's very common, and a lot of people are having this type of encounter. And for that reason, it's important and really deserves to be told. This case occurred in a quiet suburb, a housing tract outside of a major city center in the Netherlands. It occurred in 1978. The main witness, his name is Andy. Andy contacted me through social media after learning I was a UFO researcher. He was very eager to have his story told. I would describe him as a very kind person, very intelligent, sort of a introvert, kind of a shy, sensitive guy, very empathetic. Overall, a really wonderful guy. I was really delighted to be contacted by him, and very happy he agreed to share his experience, because I think it's an important one for, as I said, a number of reasons. As I said, this occurred in 1978, and he was about 12 or 13 years old. It was a school night when this occurred. He had gone to bed one evening and woke up in the middle of the night to find his room filling with light. And I'll just let Andy describe what happened to him in his own words.
Well, I was about 12 years old, and I went to bed because I had to go to school. So I was sleeping, and suddenly I woke up because there was a lot of light. Sometimes my brother took some books from my room, and he put on the light. So I said, "Put down the light." So he turned off the switch. So he said, "No, it's me. I'm taking the books." And I said, "Okay." But this time, he didn't say nothing, and the light didn't went off. So I thought, what's happening here? So I started to open my eyes, and the first thing I saw was the lot of light, of course, but the first thing I saw was my blanket was gone. So I said, "Hey, where's my blanket?" And at the same moment, I saw that I was lying on a metal table. And then I looked a little up, and I saw this big window. And then I saw this bench in front of the window. It was round edges, and it was one with the floor. That's everywhere was light. But I don't know, there were no lamps or something. I don't know where it came. I think it was coming from outside, through the window. But I don't know. There was light everywhere. Yeah, I thought, what's happening? Where am I? Am I in a hospital or something? And then I started to look around. And on my right, I saw two people, two beings, but they were black, very dark, so I couldn't see their faces. And then I looked further, and I saw a sliding door, and someone was walking through it. And then I looked further, and I saw this little thing on the floor, maybe for maintenance or something like that. And further, nothing. The room was round. Then I looked to my left, and I saw a little being. And then I looked further, and I saw another one, and then further, and the third one. And the third one was smiling at me. Was making a nice gesture. And then I turned back, and I saw this thing above my head. There was a tube with two rings emitting light, a kind of red, purple, with a big needle in the middle. and it was coming down to my left eye. So I started to shake my head. I could only move my head. And this thing was coming down. So I started to shake my head. And to them, the big alien, because one alien was one head bigger than the other one. And the biggest one literally took my attention. So I stopped shaking and looking at him. And then he said in my language, "Don't be scared, this won't hurt." And then I got this amazing feeling in my body and in my mind. I've never felt so good before. So I thought, okay, I trusted him. And then I let it happen. I said, okay, so I was waiting for it. And then it went black. And then the clock was going off because I had to go to school. And when I woke up, I was laying straight in my bed, not folded or. But then I opened my eyes, and the first thing I said is, "Oh my God, this dream looked so real." And I think, okay. And then I was sitting on my bed, and I was totally exhausted. I was never so tired in my life before. And then I said, I thought that sleeping was to rest. I'm more tired than before I went to bed. But then I thought, okay, I have to go to school. And I thought it was a dream. And the next day, we were in a living room with my parents. And my brother said, out of nothing, he said, "Hey, I dreamed I was abducted by aliens." So I said, "Hey, me too." But maybe he was thinking that I was kidding him, so he didn't say anything more. But he never said he dreamed about anything. But this time he said, and now I think this really happened.
As you can see, a very important experience. And he estimates that he recalls about 2 minutes of what happened consciously, but that a lot more occurred. And he would later have some memories coming back of some other events. He thought it was a dream, but kind of knows it wasn't. There was one clue that it wasn't a dream, is he did find his brother's shirt in his room. That was weird. One detail about this experience which I find very interesting is that the ETs spoke telepathically to Andy and spoke to him in his native language, perfect Danish. I just find that a very interesting detail. Andy was able to describe the interior of the UFO in great detail. He saw this weird object on the floor, some sort of instrument he couldn't really describe well because it was just so foreign looking, some weird spinning object. He saw another room with a bench, very low benches, and a large window. He also saw this very strange instrument coming down from the ceiling. These and other details he would later find out were described by other witnesses, so that was very interesting. So I'll just let Andy describe a little bit of the interior of the UFO and what he saw in his own words.
But sometimes later, I saw this documentary and from the National Geographic channel, and there was this drawing, I think from an abductee, and there was exactly the same device with the 2 rings, except for the needle. There was no needle, but it was exactly the same. And that was the moment I thought this really happened.
Around the time of this abduction event, Andy had a number of very strange experiences which he thinks are related. Certainly I think they're related as well. These are details I hear from a lot of other experiencers. One detail Andy described was waking up one morning to find that he'd had a very severe nosebleed spontaneously. He was always puzzled about how this happened and was shocked to learn that this was a symptom that's often reported by other experiencers. Another morning he woke up to find that his feet were laying on his pillow and his head was at the foot of the bed. He was lying the wrong way in bed. He wondered how the heck that could have happened. He couldn't have done it himself. I don't think he did, because I've heard this from many other experiencers. I don't think this is a mistake. Perhaps it is, but I honestly think the ETs do this on purpose as sort of a hint, a sort of a calling card to let people know that something strange happened. Very hard to say. Another very weird and significant event which occurred around this time occurred actually at school. It was at the end of the school day, and everyone was about to go home. The bell rang, but the school director would not let any of the children out of the classroom because he said a UFO was hovering over the school, and he kept the kids in class for another 5 minutes. At the time, Andy thought it was a joke. Now he wonders if perhaps it was real. Another weird event that Andy has never been able to explain, and he didn't think was significant at the time. He woke up one evening and was surprised to hear this weird beeping noise. He thought it was his alarm clock, but his alarm clock doesn't make a beeping noise. He got up, looked around, and couldn't find the source of this beeping noise when he realized it was actually coming from inside his head. So definitely all these weird events were starting to pile on top of each other all at the same time. Probably the most significant was a UFO sighting, which occurred again around this same time. Andy and his family were vacationing in Spain, he thinks, perhaps Italy. They were out on a boating trip, a little fishing trip, when Andy had a UFO sighting, actually a USO sighting, an unidentified submersible object. I'll just let Andy describe what he saw in his own words.
But we were on a vacation with my parents, me, my father, my brother, and my mother, and we were on a speedboat. I think it was Spain, but it could be Italy, but I think it was Spain. But suddenly, I saw this black disc shape going underneath our boat. And I said to my brother and my father, look. But they looked, but it was too late. It was already gone. And I asked my brother if it was possible for a U-boat to come there, but he started laughing. I said, no, it's too shallow. Because I could see the ground in the water. It was, I think, 2 meters. And that was another story.
So following this whole cluster of events, other strange things began to happen. Around age 15 or 16, Andy moved out of the house with his girlfriend, and they had a strange experience with the levitating couch.
Yeah, I was living with my girlfriend when I was 15, because my mother had a new friend. And we didn't go well together, so I had to leave. I went living together with my girlfriend, and there was this couch in the family, and it was spooked, and nobody wanted the couch. But I don't believe in ghosts or that kind of stuff, so I said, "Give me the couch, give me." So we were looking at the TV together. In the evening, and suddenly the couch started shaking for 2 seconds, and it came from the floor, a half an inch from the floor, and we looked at each other. Did you feel that? And she said, yeah, and we jumped off. We put the couch. We threw it away.
As Andy grew up, he and his brother remained very close. Unfortunately, they never discussed their UFO experience. At the time, Andy wasn't really thinking about UFOs and never connected the dots. And tragically, at age 24, Andy's brother committed suicide. Andy's not sure if this was related to the UFO experience or not. Like Andy, Andy's brother was a very sensitive guy, very empathetic, had a lot of trouble with selfish people, with the evil and corruption and crime in the world. This was a huge tragedy for the entire family. Andy took it particularly hard. He now had no one to discuss his UFO experience with. And it was later, following this experience, as an adult, Andy got a computer and went online and started to learn about UFOs and that other people have had the same experiences he's had. He found a lot of details reported by other people that matched perfectly his own, including what the room looked like and the instrument that came down and other weird experiences. He read about strange scars on people's bodies, scoop marks. He had never examined his own body and was shocked to learn that, yes, he did have these weird scoop marks on his back. One detail that I think is very significant is that Andy has a strong connection with animals. This is very, very common among UFO experiencers, and it's definitely very strong with Andy. He's always had pets. Some of his pets won't let any other humans touch them, only Andy. Wherever he goes, animals love him. He just holds a very strong respect for all forms of life.
I even, if I have a mosquito in my room, I take a glass, I catch it, and I put it outside. A lot of people kill it. I don't kill the smallest things. I don't kill. I have respect for the life. Animals always come to me. This is so sick. When I'm going to play cards with my friends at different houses, they have different dogs, and every house, every dog always sits the whole time with me.
Andy had one very unusual experience where he woke up in the middle of the night, turned on the light, turned towards his fish tank, and saw that his pet fish was just beginning to give birth. It was kind of a psychic experience, a very weird and cool event. He also wondered about another weird event in which he found two of his fish missing from his fish tank. He always wondered about that. But definitely a strong connection with animals. Also important, I think, is Andy has had another UFO sighting. He saw a UFO very close up, believes that they were showing themselves to him on purpose.
I saw two UFO's. I was living in an apartment, hoe zeg je dat nou? 9 high? Yeah, 9 stories high. And I have a big view on the sky. I did send you this drawing with the big cloud in the middle. And the sun was almost down, under, and there was this big cloud on the right and a very big cloud on the left and a very big dark cloud in the middle. And when I see something shining outside, I immediately look outside because I want to see UFOs. I'm waiting for them. So I'm looking, and I'm standing from my window, and I saw this one UFO above the clouds, and one was coming through the clouds, and he go up again. So I saw him. Then he went up again, so I didn't saw him. Then he came again down, and I saw him again, and then he went up again. And then they were gone. That could not, absolutely not, never have been a star. It was the brightest star I've ever saw in my life. But a star cannot shine through a dark cloud. And a star cannot come down the clouds 2 times.
More recently, he saw a strange light in his kitchen. That was weird. Was never able to explain that. And he still has a lot of questions about his experience. Ultimately, he feels it was positive and it was a benevolent event, and he would definitely like to have another encounter. He feels nothing but goodwill towards the ETs.
No, I love them. These beings from my abduction, I wish they were here now. because I got this overwhelming, when he said, don't be scared, it won't hurt. You know, when you go with your parents to the dentist, and your parents say to you, don't be scared, it won't hurt. You believe him. This feeling was 10 times, maybe 100 times bigger. I trusted him. I felt so good. I said, okay, do it. And I want to know what they did with this needle. I want to know what they did. Did they put something in my head or take something out? Yeah, because this little guy who smiled at me, I have a sort of friendship with him. And 10 years I have no flu, or maybe 20 or 15 years now, I think. Yeah, 15 years. I have no flu. I'm not sick.
One detail Andy always wondered about was he alone in his family? He couldn't talk to his brother, and other families denied having any experiences, though more recently his sister did admit that she did see 3 alien beings once standing at the foot of her bed. Also, Andy recently found out that his cousin has had UFO experiences, UFO sightings, and apparently missing time as well. So this was incredible confirmation and sort of fit the pattern we see in other cases in which these contacts run in families. Andy has since had other memories returning. He remembers being on board the UFO again at age 13. He was lying on his back and the ETs were operating and said, okay, we're done now. He also remembers being on board the UFO and walking down a curved corridor with one of these ETs and asking them about his brother and where his brother was. And he has a final memory of just waking up spontaneously and finding himself floating outside of his bedroom through the window and up in the air. He was scared he was going to fall. The ground was some distance, and he was getting very frightened and thought to himself, this can't be happening. This isn't possible. When he looked up and saw one of these beings, and the beings said, yes, it is possible. So this is Andy's experience. I wrote about it in my book, Onboard UFO Encounters. And as I said, I believe it's significant because it's a multiple witness case. It's consciously recalled without the use of hypnosis. It's the kind of experience a lot of people are having, probably the most common I hear. And for that reason, I think it's very significant and that people should know about it. It's definitely a story that deserves to be told. And I want to thank you all once again for listening and keep having fun.